And I immediately forgot how to open it. It's like the clap reset my brain. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the World of Dragons podcast, the only podcast where 2.5 dragons get together to discover, review, and discuss dragon-centric content, including but not limited to movies, TV shows, books, video games, so on and so forth, to help you dragon fans find the next world, universe, whatever you want to call it, that you wouldn't to lose yourself in. Because sometimes you'll look at a book, look at a game, and be like, how dragony is this really?
And so I'm Bantam. Dilettante will not be joining us because his bed fort has become his tomb.
He's apparently been having some trouble sleeping, so insomnia kicked his butt, I guess.
Yeah.
It ruined my entire opening bit I went to do that. I was going to be like, I'm Ray, the sinister serpent, right? How to Train Your Dragon style names. I'm like, and this is Bantam, the feathered nuisance, and Dilettante, the flightless chunk.
Flightless chunk.
Yeah, but he can't, react to that, so it's not as funny. I'm very sad about it.
Just go into one of the old episodes and just clip a bunch of reactions.
A bunch of his, hey!
or clip any of the times where he's agreed to things like, oh yeah, definitely.
Oh my god, that would be the greatest, because he doesn't listen to these after we record them, so he will have no idea.
No.
Oh my god. If it wasn't so much work, I'd totally do it. I'm glad you like the feathered nuisance bit, though.
I am. I'll maybe later I'll just be like, hey, Dilettante, because Dilettante wants to show
I need
me.
you to send me a voice clip of agreeing with something.
Yeah.
And he's like, why?
I'll be like, hey, open Audacity for a sec. I just want to record something real quick. I need you to say, oh yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's me.
That's not suspicious at all.
No.
Anyway, so this episode we're going to be doing How to Train Your Dragon. Hence the need for the How to Train Your Dragon-esque names at the beginning. But we are focusing mostly on the trilogy, the movies, with a little bit of tie-in on a couple of the other TV shows, the books, dipped your toes into it kind of level.
Yeah, we watched the 3 movies. We watched the Christmas special, Homecoming. And
we watched the first episode of Rescue Riders. I watched the first 4 of the 9 Realms. Dilettante was one he's seen the entire Dragon Riders of Berk, Race of the Edge, whatever the fuck it's called. So we're losing that, sadly. But I also read the first 3 chapters of the first book just to get a feel for its writing style.
Was it as child friendly as I imagine?
It is definitely written for little kids. It's been a couple of decades since I've read the Magic Tree House, but it feels like lower level than the Magic Tree House. It's definitely you adults and older people listening, you probably wouldn't enjoy reading it, but if you got kids, go for it.
Was it narrated?
There is an audiobook, but I purposefully got the ebook.
I'm just wondering if the audiobook has the narrator talking down to you, like that whole I'm talking to a bunch of kids affectation.
Oh yeah.
And
maybe I don't know. But the thing is, I specifically got the ebook because the books, their font is interesting. It's supposed to look like handwritten almost, and there's also, it's so freaking full of doodles and diagrams and stuff.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
There's a lot of charm in the actual print book itself.
Just imagining the audiobook version when it comes to a doodle and the narrator goes, image of a blah blah blah.
Badly drawn image of a blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we get into that, I guess fair warning, it's going to be mostly spoiled. It is a relatively old series and it's really popular anyway. So I doubt you're listening to this because you need to know if it's worth your time investment, and more along the lines of you just want to hear our opinions and talk about it and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we probably won't do a spoiler break because it's kind of just all blend together. So if you actually haven't seen it,
just don't listen to this episode until you see it. I mean,
I guess just take our word for it that as far as the original trilogy, the movies goes, they're worth your time. The first one, even though it's make everybody feel super old now, it's 13 years old. It aged pretty well. It's still pretty good.
Yeah, graphics. Yeah, quality-wise, it still holds up.
The stories are all really good. There's only a couple parts in some of the movies where I got angry, but upon a second rewatching, it's not that bad. Get into that later.
Yeah.
It's like the first time I saw Pete's Dragon, I was completely like angry, infuriated.
Yeah. When we,
Like
I think we talked about that on
the episode relevant to it, yeah. But
Yeah.
left the theater in a huff. But then when I watched it the second time for the sake of the podcast, it wasn't that bad. I can appreciate what they did. Like, it made sense. It's just, I guess, the shock of seeing it for the first time. It's like, oh, how dare they? Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we get fully into that, let's Dragon news. Do we have Dragon news?
I do not have any Dragon news myself.
I don't think so. I guess it's worth mentioning, this can count as Dragon news, that they did announce a live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, I was doing what I do with every movie I watch, especially animated, trying to look up voice actors to see if I recognize them, either by name or by face, and when I searched How to Train Your Dragon IMDb, one of the results came up, How to Train Your Dragon, just that's it. There was no subtitle, and then it said 2025.
Yep.
And it
was officially announced April of this year, and I think filming starts in June. So it's official. It's happening. Oh, we'll see if it makes it to the end of its production, rather than like a Bantam halfway through. But considering how much money How to Train Your Dragon has brought DreamWorks, I'm pretty sure they're going to see this through.
Yeah. And you know, the quality hasn't really suffered much for the, I mean, yeah, we'll get into it when we get to the movies, but pacing seems to start to suffer as the movies go on, but at least it ends it on a note where it doesn't feel completely gross, like, ugh.
It's worth mentioning that the live action they want to do is a retelling, not a continuation.
Of the first movie?
Of the entire everything, yeah.
All three of them together?
I don't think together. They may be trying to start a new trilogy, so maybe it's just movie 1 to movie 1. But it's the point being it's a retelling, not a continuation.
Huh. Interesting.
We could have the discussion now. Do we really think it needs a remake? But I feel like that's a bit better later on in the actual discussion of the content.
I mean, remakes are starting to become a problem for me in every type of media. You know, you've got, and it happens across everything. You've got reprintings of books where they change language, which I don't agree with. They have remakes, live action remakes of animated classics, which Disney is doing, and every single one of them have been pretty much garbage. At least according to my opinion, whatever. And then now you've got, you know, an animated classic like How to Train Your Dragon being turned into live action. I hope they do it justice, but I don't think that, you know, stuff like this needs to be remade constantly. I just recently, we're probably not going to do another In Other Worlds segment or whatever, but I recently just, Ray bought a PS5 and I bought Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West because I really wanted to play it. Mm-hmm. And because I got really into Horizon Zero Dawn lore, I found out that they're planning on remaking the first game, like remastering it. And it's like, I just played the first Horizon Zero Dawn like 3 weeks ago. That game still holds up. It does not need a remaster. I don't understand what it is about taking stuff from like 5 years ago and remastering it.
So on the one hand, it's definitely just they're trying to double dip. Like I said, How to Train Your Dragon has made them a lot of money. I think it's their biggest franchise under their collective ownership, whatever the heck,
yeah.
DreamWorks. So they definitely just want more out of it rather than making new stuff, because all the new stuff they tried to make, all these TV series, I think are falling flat. But on the other hand, if they want to change the tone, then it's kind of worth doing a reimagining. It's not meant to replace the original animation. It's meant to be an alternative. Like the original How to Train Your Dragon cartoon is not. It's not as good for children as the books are, but it's definitely expected to be seen with a younger audience. It's a family movie. You go with the kids and all that, right?
Yeah.
If, I don't know what they're planning, but if they do this remake to be a bit more adult or like young teen oriented, make it a bit darker, actually show blood on the screen, kind of deal.
People, even if you cut the camera away, you know, actual killing. Like, mm-hmm. I'm not saying like stack the bodies, but you know, like,
yeah, I just watched all 3 movies yesterday, back to back, so they're fresh in my brain. They only ever show one dead body on screen in the entire trilogy.
Really?
Yep, only one.
Who?
I can't say.
Oh, okay. I don't recall, but we just finished watching the third movie right before recording.
Yeah.
And there's
I
several...
want to avoid major spoilers until people who want to dip out after the news have a
Yeah.
chance to dip. So
there's several scenes where there's large fights where people are wielding axes and swords and clubs and stuff, and there's lots of hitting. But like when a person, like there was one part where someone with an axe used the pommel of the axe to knock somebody out. And it's like people are swinging axes and swords at each other, but not a single person gets hit by a blade. And I get it. It's a PG movie. But it's like if you're going to have a whole bunch of people brawling, maybe just have them fight and wrestle, then use weapons.
yeah. So the point is the remake can be good if they're wanting to do something different with it. It's not meant to be a replacement. If you like the cartoon, you can still like the cartoon. No one's taking that away from you. This is just another way to tell the story, which I can appreciate it because I kind of suffer from the same thing in a lot of my small little stories. Like I haven't written any books and I'm not making any movies, obviously, but like the little stories I come up with for my characters, when I want to tell another story, I'll use the same characters just in a different universe because I just like it all so much. So it's like I get the appeal of doing like a slight retelling, like in this universe, it happens slightly different kind of deal. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just weird.
Oh.
But yeah, I guess can go straight into some of the actual discussion then. So this will be the closest thing you get to a spoiler warning because we're not going to really try and tiptoe that much. It is a 13-year-old movie. The third one is 4 years old, so it's still relatively old. I feel like that's a big enough spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Just take our word for it. It's worth seeing at least once.
Yeah, I think the general consensus is 1 year after something is concluded before you reveal spoilers. But, I mean, that's just the internet consensus. I mean, we're going to be kinder, we understand that there are people out there who have, like Diletan, who has not seen jack shit. If Diletan has only seen the movies that I've subjected him to.
Both Diletan and you had not even seen the third movie until just now.
So I didn't see the third movie because I think when it came out, going to the movie theater was just like, meh. And then it probably came out on streaming and I just didn't care enough. I will admit the second movie left a really bad taste in my mouth, and that was probably mostly your fault because it was one of those things where I'm the target movie audience where I will just take whatever's given to me and just be like, haha, yay, movie. And it isn't until I'm forced to think about things, like when you forced me to think about the second movie, that I start actually going, yeah, that's actually a really good point, and now I hate the movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry I destroyed your childlike one.
But yeah, it was just, I guess when the second movie or third movie came out, I was just busy with other things. Just didn't really care. So I had never seen it. The funny thing is the same thing happened to me with Harry Potter. I had never seen the last 3 movies, and I just got the bug like a year ago, and I watched all the movies in a row, like within the course of 2 days.
It sounds gross.
And well, it was great because I had never seen the last 3.
I know, but like just the thought of sitting down and watching 8 movies over the course of 2 days, and they get longer and longer as they go on. It's like that's so much time just sitting watching TV that I feel like I would feel my brain rot.
Listen, there was one time with my little brothers where we one day were just like, hey, we should watch Lord of the Rings. And it was like, yeah.
Oh my God.
And so we set up the basement, we got snacks, and we did a watch party from beginning to end of all the extended cut, 12 hours straight of movies.
I remember trying that. I got 10% of the way through the second movie and I was like, nope, can't do this. Nuh-uh. I gotta do something else.
Yeah, you're far more energetic of a person than I am, I guess, because I can veg and just watch stuff. Like, I'm more than capable of just turning off my brain, my higher thinking, and just being like, movie.
All right. So here, spoiler break. It's the only warning you get. Let's continue on. Let's go in the basic order of movie 1, 2, 3, but we can jump around within the movie. Don't need to literally go scene by scene.
And then we can touch on the Homecoming special as a tie-up for the movies.
The couple of the series is. Yeah. We'll put those all at the end, yeah.
And I do have some knowledge of some of the games. Or at least...
I played a mobile game. That's the only game I played.
I played one of the console tie-in games, and I don't remember which movie it was a tie-in for. It didn't it didn't follow the plot of any of the movies. It was kind of its own thing. But I did play one of the games that a lot of people had a lot of fun with.
Who knows? Maybe for one of the episodes of the podcast, we'll do an actual How to Train Your Dragon game or one of the TV series, just as we run out of non-book stuff to do to break up the monotony.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, How to Train Your Dragon 1, 13 years old. Do you feel old yet?
No. See, I know that that's the internet joke, but every time someone's just like, oh my god, such and such came out in blah, blah, blah. That was over blah, blah, blah years ago. And, most people will be like, oh my god, why would you do this to me? I don't care. It doesn't affect me. I'm like, well, yeah. Because for me, like, stuff that's happened 15 years ago, I still feel like it happened a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So my time condenses and
time is an illusion.
Yeah, time condenses and then travels with me. So something that happened 15 years ago, kind of to me just feels like it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, I've been friends with you and I've been living with you for I think 9 years now, and it still kind of only feels like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I'm always amazed when I am retaught that it was like 8 years ago. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I reject linear time.
Yeah, I mean, essentially.
All right, so How to Train Your Dragon 1. I will say out of the 3 movies that I watched back to back, granted there was a little bit of talking over the third because I was watching it with you, but it's also the only movie that I really can recall a lot of the music from. Like, obviously there's the How to Train Your Dragon theme that gets redone and touched up for every iteration, but like, beyond the theme song itself, it's the only movie that I actually can remember some of the songs being like really good. Like I want to get the soundtrack for it.
Well, so my theory on that is the fact that I mean, you just recently rewatched it. I did not rewatch the first one because I remember that one, but I do remember the music being pretty prevalent in it, and I think the reason is because so the while we were watching the third movie, I asked Ray. I said, there wasn't a bad guy in the first one. And Ray's like, yeah, it was more of a internal struggle / personal growth story. Yeah. And the thing is that leaves a lot of room for slow introspection, characters monologuing, and a lot of just very peaceful / thinking scenes.
Yeah. The first movie was definitely a lot more cinematic, a lot more atmospheric. The other two had a lot more character interactions because we now have a group of characters. We got to make sure everyone gets enough screen time.
Yeah. And then then the second movie introduced an actual villain, and the action had to keep up. It had to ramp up. And then the third movie had even more villains, I guess. And it was just nonstop action the whole time. I don't recall at any point in the third movie where there was like a long period of characters just resting and talking.
Yeah. I think the biggest was the date scene, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, really like the music for How to Train Your Dragon 1. I'll have to get the soundtrack into to work to see if it's as good as I remember. Like, as I noticed, or maybe like, out of 10 songs, I only really recognize 3 of them.
Well, I mean, it depends, yeah, because sometimes when a movie comes out, they'll release the soundtrack and the score, which are usually 2 separate things. But sometimes a movie doesn't have enough music in it to...
there was no lyrical music in this at all, so...
So then, yeah, it would only be the score.
Uh-huh.
But at that, yeah, so you'd only get, like, 1 CD worth of stuff. But, like, even in, like, Disney musicals, there's always music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the score, and then the singing parts are the...
Mm-hmm. Okay, How to Train Your Dragon 1, really like it. Out of the 3 of them, I think it's still my favorite.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 of them.
No, I was going to say first one's definitely the best.
I mean, it's really close, though, honestly. And the thing is, I really like the first one. My favorite parts of the first movie are definitely before Toothless and Hiccup have become, like, super buddy-buddy, right? And they're still, like, trying to get to know each other. Such a weird way to put it, because Toothless doesn't talk. But, like, the whole Hiccup is so scared of Toothless, trying to just edge closer slowly, really nervous about touching him. If Toothless suddenly gets an aggressive pose, then Hiccup, like, backs away a bit. That whole interplay, that I enjoy, because I figure that should be the relationship between Dragon and Rider, more than when Toothless became a freaking dog / cat in a dragon suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, by all means, have loyalty and friendship and whatever, but, like, don't, like, demean the character by making him act like a little pet.
Yeah. There is one detail I kind of forget about the first movie. I know that it was Hiccup that trapped Toothless. Like he was testing a trap and it finally worked, right?
Yeah, kind of basically.
Is that what injured Toothless's tail?
Yeah. So Hiccup had like a little ballista that would shoot nets.
Yeah.
Because he's not strong enough to throw it, so he shot it. Got Toothless in the air. Toothless crash lands because was flying super fast. Tears through some trees and in the ground, and yeah, now his tail is injured.
So his tail was injured. Now in the subsequent movies, there is not even a inkling of the old half of his tail fin on his tail. Did Hiccup just cut the rest of it off?
No, it was that half was completely missing when Hiccup found him. I'm sure they didn't want to have it just sitting there like torn and mangled because kids movie.
But
same reason they won't show blood ever.
So then that's
it was just always torn off by the time Hiccup found him.
So then that's a major plot hole because Toothless was flying around no problem. But then in the later movies, without his prosthetic tail fin that Hiccup made, Toothless is shown to not be able to fly at all.
No, he never could without the prosthetic.
Oh, no, you're right. Never mind. I'm not thinking straight. But again, still, it aggravates me that like the ballista for some odd reason was able to completely shear off one whole half of his tail cleanly and with no problems.
Well, again, they don't want it to be super gruesome because this was meant for kids.
I agree. I just feel like kids should toughen up. Like I'm so sick and tired of kids being coddled.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Land Before Time, the first one, or All Dogs Go to Heaven. Like you can make family-oriented or family-oriented fucking animations without. You can show a little.
I guess I definitely feel like they shouldn't be coddled to the point like you can't even show blood on the TV. Like that's definitely too much. But there are definitely some things that we should be careful with because they can be susceptible to whatever. Like you can accidentally give a kid a phobia, you can accidentally give them nightmares, you can accidentally give them trauma if you're not careful.
Yeah, I guess I'm just biased against coddling kids because as a kid, my mom let us play Mortal Kombat and Grand Theft Auto. She did not care. Like I grew up playing violent video games.
There's nothing wrong with like violence and blood. I don't think handled like decently. Like don't let them watch Saw, of course. But I won't even watch Saw. But there's still some concepts that you could probably shield them from until they're slightly older.
I mean, a little bit of blood coming out of an injured tail.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
Yeah,
I agree with you there. That would have been fine.
So there's a couple things that the first movie did that I remember as being, I guess in my slight opinion, being very forward-thinking, very, I guess, inclusive. When Hiccup injured his leg at the end of the first movie, and then they had it, and I remember that they showed him limping. And then the next scene, he's had his leg amputated.
No, okay, so you really should have just rewatched the movie. Hiccup gets injured. They never show the injured leg at all. He's laying unconscious against Toothless, and then he's like, "Oh, you brought him back. You saved my boy." And then Gobber, who I don't like, and I'll get into that later, says, "Well, most of him." And then that's it. That's the only hint you have that he's injured. And then the next scene, he's waking up in his house, and he already has the prosthetic on.
That's literally what I just fucking said. I literally said that he was injured. They don't show it, and then the next scene, he has the prosthetic.
Okay, well, when you said that he was injured, they show him limping, and then the next scene's got the prosthetic. To me, that made it sound like you remembered him being conscious.
Well, what I meant by show him limping is that he sits up when he's on the beach.
Okay, yeah.
And then
the way you worded made me think that
tries to get up and he can't, or whatever. I don't know. But
he's just not used to balancing on it, so he stumbles.
Yeah. So, but point being is that they actually injured the main character in a permanent way, and I thought that was really cool. I mean, granted,
I think he's the only disabled main character we have in all of cartoon.
In all of cartoons, yeah, like because they show some of the other Vikings, like what's his name, Gobber.
Gobber, he's missing an arm and a leg,
and it's like he has a whole bunch of silly ass tools and attachments for his arm. as like a comic relief or a joke or whatever. But to Hiccup having a prosthetic leg was definitely like, wow. Like I remember in the movies when that movie first came out being like, wow, they actually permanently disabled or disfigured a main character.
Yeah. Somebody let me know if there's another example, but I think he's the only handicapped main character we have.
Yeah,
which is really great.
And I understand why they did it. It was to mirror the injury that he gave and fixed for Toothless. Yeah. But yeah, the first movie was definitely and I could be wrong. I don't really look into these things too deeply, but an original IP, like an original idea, like any animated kids movie you see now, at the end it'll be like inspired by or based on the novel or based on the children's book or whatever. It's always Hollywood's run out of ideas and they're stealing stuff. And I think How to Train Your Dragon was completely just made by DreamWorks.
No, it was based off a book.
Was it?
Yes, that's why the book exists.
I thought the book came out after the movie, because almost every one of the animated movies gets a book.
No, the book came first, and a lot of people, there were some people who were upset at the movies because of how different they were from the books, and they are completely different. They're similar in name only, basically, and a couple other weird tie-ins. Like the fact that Toothless is called Toothless is because that's what the dragon's name was in the book. And the fact that he has retractable teeth is completely unnecessary, and it's just their way of trying to validate the name Toothless so they could keep the names, right? It was so forced.
Yeah, evolutionary-wise, I don't see a point to retractable teeth.
I mean, I can see a point if, like, maybe... Like some of the other dragons that are like real gnarly looking, like gangly teeth, like the freaking teeth sticking out of the jaws everywhere. That makes more sense for retractable because you're gonna freaking stab yourself or a friend or something. But like Toothless is when nice, perfect, even straight teeth. It's like they didn't need to be retractable at all.
Yeah, they really didn't. I don't see a point to it, except for, I guess maybe mating displays or I don't know. But like, what point would a dragon have to not have any teeth in the first place? So just an arbitrary way to match up his name, Toothless, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are a couple of very weak tie-ins, but overall the movies and the books have almost nothing in common. So I guess it is kind of DreamWorks' baby in the sense that they basically just rewrote it. They kept the universe and redid everything. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so knowing that the book came first, then if they made a sweeping changes, then that's fine. Then I consider that to be somewhat an original idea if they basically just took a couple names and a general concept. But a lot of stuff like Shrek was based off of a book, like 100%. To the point where apparently the author of the book was even surprised that they went as dirty and crass humor as they did in the movie, because he's like, I thought they would have rejected my book based on my dirty jokes, but they went even further with them.
Everything's based off of something at this point.
It's fun. It does suck when you see a trailer for a new movie and you're like, all right, and then you find out, oh, it's based off this book or this TV series.
Well, authors are just much better writers. Of course, let them do the hard part, and then you can just adapt it. That's a very simple, easy way to get a good story.
Sir, I've produced a new script. Let me look at it. This is just a book. Yeah, this is the script. Just here. The book. Done. Hire all the famous people you can think of.
But in general, Bantam, with How to Train Your Dragon in general, because you despise humanity.
I do.
You don't like humans in your dragon stuff. Like, this is literally a Dragon Rider story. How bad was it?
The first movie was fine. Nobody but the second and third movies, I did not like the humans in there, because the human like in the first movie, because it's an internal struggle and it's mostly people just not understanding dragons. Like, none of the villagers actually really wanted all the dragons to die. They just were like, dragons are dangerous and evil, keep it away from us, blah blah blah. And then they were taught, oh, dragons are kind of cool. Like the whole village of Burke is fine. I'm fine with them. But the sheer just selfish greed assholery of the villains in the second and third movie overpower any of the kindness and generosity that the villagers of Burke have, and it makes me just can't. Because it's the standard thing with every dragon thing. It's like the humans are the bad guys. The humans think of only one thing, this is a creature out there that is more powerful than us, and one-on-one would easily kill us. Therefore, we must destroy them because they are a threat to humanity. And it's like, they're not. They're not a threat to humanity. You are actively seeking them out and murdering them. It's like, you're making your own worst enemy. I'm pretty sure the dragons would have just left you the fuck alone.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm okay with Dragon Rider stories when they're handled good. That's why I like the first half when Hiccup is trying to learn about Toothless, right? That whole montage, I guess, it's not really a montage because it moves a bit slower, but that I love. But then afterwards, when he becomes borderline a pet with how dog/cat-like he acts, that's when I start to not like it, because then I feel like you start to demean the dragon at that point. I really feel like, personally, and if they do this in the remake, that'd be great. I feel like it'd be better if the dragons could talk.
Yeah.
Make them a bit more intelligent rather than just basically, wild beasts or whatever. They kind of talk-ish in the books, from what I understand, because Hiccup in the books can speak Dragonese. It's a real fake language, though, like, holy shit. So it's like, why not have, like, the dragons able to communicate? I feel like I guess maybe it's too different and they wouldn't do that, but just,
Yeah.
Just treat the dragons with a bit more respect than making them super dog-like. But that's just my personal opinion.
And now let's talk about the second movie.
Oh, I remember. One thing I want to say real fast is one thing I don't like about the whole Hiccup learning about dragonkind through Toothless is how everything seems universal to every other dragon. Like, oh, Toothless likes being scratched in this spot, therefore every other dragon likes being scratched in that spot. Or Toothless is weak to this particular grass, maybe it's basically dragon nip or whatever. But so therefore every other dragon is like affected by that. Like, these wholesale all dragons like X or react to Y or whatever. I didn't like that because, that's not how it works. Everybody's different. First of all, main species will be different, but then even individuals among them will like different things too. But I guess it's a decent way to dumb it down, to have it make sense and be streamlined for the sake of a family movie.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I guess can move on to the second movie now, since you want to.
I really want to.
That's where most of our complaints are going to be centered around, because that's when they started doing all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I watched the second movie, I think in theaters with you, and I remember that. Yeah, I was just like entertained because I like lights and colors and I like dragons and I like all that. But and I remember leaving like, that was a good movie. I felt it feeling sad, and then
Ray's like, no, it wasn't, and this is why it was bad. And then you're like, oh, okay, I guess it was bad.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it took a couple days of you harping on it and talking about it, and because I think my first reaction to it was, oh my god, get over it. And then I was like, no, you know what? And then when I compared it to tropes that I've dealt with in games I've played, games I've loved, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's bullshit. I hate it. When in any JRPG or video game where you have an ally who's super powerful and then the bad guy mind controls them into fight, and they're a boss fight now, and then you kill them and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, and it's like, oh no, it's fine. I broke free of the mind control just as you killed me, and it's like, ugh.
Mind control is always dumb. Like, I can't think of another way to say it. It's dumb. It's stupid. Please don't do it. There are barely any good ways out there to do it, because when you start robbing a character of their free will, you start to, like, absolutely just, I can't think of the words, and, like, you just negate everything. Like, there's no more, not any good, real tension anymore, and, like, nothing matters because you've now forced to happen. It's kind of Deus Exy, or whatever that term is.
Deus Exy. I know it's Deus Ex. It's Deus.
Deus Exy.
Although
whatever.
I think it's one of those potato words. I think Deus Ex is also whatever, but it sounds too much like do sex. So that's why whenever I say it, I've trained myself to say Deus. But also because of the video game.
But yeah, it's so, like, you've pulled this plot point out of your ass by forcing the characters to do it against their will. Literally.
Yeah. It's like if things were, if the bad guy didn't have the mind control option, he would have been dealt with immediately.
Also, just the fact that the fact that Toothless, under the effects of mind control, would have killed Hiccup and ends up killing Hiccup's dad because the dad jumps in the way to save Hiccup. It's like that is something that never would have nor never should have happened. It was completely forced through the mind control, and completely like almost undoes the entire character growth of these characters. The Hiccup and Toothless gaining each other's trust and becoming friends is completely thrown out the window because, oh, mind control says kill the boy. It was just so aggravating, and I was so angry. And upon watching it the second time, I still hated it. It didn't make me as angry because I, saw it coming. It was expected because I've already seen it.
Yeah.
I kind of see why they decided to do it because of some of the scenes that it allows to come out later. The what was supposed to be an emotional scene where Toothless is fighting against the Alpha for the sake of Hiccup. Like that, I see. It could only have happened because of mind control, but I don't feel like it was worth it.
Yeah.
The ends did not justify the means. It would have been better as a slightly different story.
Yeah. In the funny thing is though, is that as angry as mind control made you in the second movie, the third movie basically just same trick. It was mind control, but with drugs.
With drugs rather than psychic powers or whatever.
Because like the first one, it was the Alpha had the ability to roar and mind control dragons, which was weird.
It was like half through the eyes and half through like this weird chittering sound he could make by wiggling certain parts of his facial structure or whatever. I don't know.
And then
because they try to block it out by blindfolding Toothless and have a whole "Do you trust me" moment because he's blindfolding Toothless by riding on his back and whatnot. So it's
yeah. But then in the third movie, the bad guy is literally just using drugs, like a harness setup or bridle setup over the dragon's head that just has little vials of poison being drip fed into them. So it's the exact same trick. It's mind control, and it's like it's one of the other reasons why I just can't stand humanity and things like this, because like you hate dragons so much, but you're willing to use them as weapons against other dragons, and it's like. No, you either hate dragons and you don't have any of your own. Because, let's face it, the bad guy of the third movie would have been nothing without his fleet of dragons.
Well, it was a pack. It wasn't a fleet.
Whatever. And then the same thing with the second bad guy having the alpha dragon that he controls. And it's like, these bad guys aren't a threat. Like, have them be an actual threat. Have it be, like, in the third movie, or even in the second movie, because they were both boats, right? They were both, like, armadas. And it's like...
Well, when you have an entire, not kingdom, but, like, country area, whatever, it's an archipelago. Like, there's so much water with these little islands around everywhere.
I'm not criticizing the fact that both bad guys used an armada. I'm criticizing the fact that the hypnosis mind control subplot in the second movie didn't need to happen. The bad guy, what was his name? Drago?
Yeah.
Drago in the second movie, he's just capturing dragons. Like, I don't remember what his end goal was, but he was capturing them.
He just wants to capture them, have them be under his thrall, to use them to bully other people so he could be in charge, rule the world, conquer everything kind of deal.
So it's like your plan worked fine. You were luring dragons and trapping them, and then you had them. Congrats. Like, the whole mind control thing, like, he was already a threat even without the mind control thing. That's fine. It's like, you've got all this dragon trapping equipment to the point where if a dragon approaches the fleet, it's in trouble. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's enough of a threat. The whole mind control thing was really fucking tacked on to me and felt really gross.
It was only needed to create two scenes. The first being the quote emotional tension of Toothless going to kill Hiccup, ends up killing Stoic instead, and so we have that whole emotional scene that again felt forced and cheap because it was it was a consequence of mind control, therefore it didn't feel deserved. And then the second scene was to just have the whole, oh, he's fighting against the Alpha for your sake kind of deal. And then you get the whole, he brings all the other dragons to his side and they all fusillade the fucking Alpha and break his hood, and then he gets all sad and scared and slinks back into the water.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think we really needed them. There would probably been a better way to write it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, the second movie was okay aside from the hypnosis thing. Like I agreed with Ray that you'd remove the hypnosis entirely and the movie could still stand perfectly fine and probably be better for it. The third movie though, the quote unquote hypnosis was just stupid. And I feel like if the bad guy's motivations in the third movie were to just kill all the Night Furies, just that one race, no reason given. I mean, he has a little bit of a villain monologue where he explains that when he was a kid, he took one down and then killed it, and then just decided to keep killing them for that reason alone. And so that's stupid. But, they could have at least explained that he befriended, whatever type of species that dragon was that he had, instead of mind controlling them to use as weapons. Oh, stupid. But, yeah. Ray winds me up a lot. And, like, Ray will mention something that bothers him, and I'll think about it. And the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, fuck them.
Well, I wanted to respond to this thing that Tris Nix in our audience stand he tried to point out that he believes that the point behind the mind control was to teach Hiccup a lesson that he can't change everyone's mind, because Hiccup wants to go and talk to Dragon and be like, look, dragons are our friends. And, this was supposed to be teach him a lesson, and he ends up paying for it with his father's life. And it's like, okay, so then have Drago, like, almost kill Toothless. Dad jumps in the way, kills the dad. Have Drago do the killing. There's no need for Toothless to do it. That, like, what came of that? A 10-second spout of anger from Hiccup where it makes it seem like he almost is going to start hating Toothless. So then Toothless is like all sad and walks away, and then gets mind controlled into the fleet with all the other dragons by the offer. It's like unnecessary fake drama. It's like, if you're going to have mind control in it, you have to also understand that character A killed character B against his will. Like, you don't get mad at character A, you get mad at character B. You get mad at the mind controller, not the guy who was forced to do it. I think you muted yourself.
Yeah,
I heard through the door.
I pressed the mute button with my belly because I have the little control panel on my headset kind of just rests like right on my leg, and if I lean forward too much, I press all the buttons.
Yeah. Another big problem I had with Drago, and a little bit, I can't remember his name. We just saw the movie, I can't remember his name, but the villain in the third one also.
It was like it was like Grunnel, or it began with a G.
I keep wanting to say Grindelwald, but that's from freaking Harry Potter. But the problem I had with both of them, especially Drago though, was just the thought of...
His name was Grimmel.
Grimmel. Just the thought of humans being stronger than dragons. That's a really weird way to word the sentence. But like, it kind of fits into my whole hatred of the trope of wizards being very powerful when they can have these dragons subservient under them. It's like, I personally like the idea of dragons being very powerful beings that are the top of the food chain. Nothing is better than them. But that's me personally. I get that. But even if you were to like strip my preference out of it, a lot of these dragons in this universe are very big and very dangerous, and there's no way one human can stand up to them, right?
Yeah.
But then Drago's whole thing is he's apparently so mean and badass that he can just intimidate a dragon into listening to him. It's like, no, how? This thing is 5 times your size, is able to breathe fire, has claws and fangs. It's like, you're not going to just cow hit by screaming at him.
Yeah.
He does that like several times, and it's like completely unrealistic. Like, there's no way a little puny human is going to intimidate a dragon into listening to him.
Now, this is a minor gripe. Feel free to to pick it apart. In fact, I'm almost eager for you to do so. But in the first movie, Hiccup is designing machines to do things for him. Like the ballista or whatever. And everybody's like, what is he doing? Like, that's not... Like, him inventing machines was such a weird concept to the other Vikings. But then both bad guys... So it's almost... It's explained in a way that... Or shown in a way that Hiccup is an innovator and is unlike other Vikings. But then you have both bad guys from the second and third movie who are also really adept at building crazy contraptions and machines. And it's like... So did Hiccup just pick it up real late and he was the only one of Burke to think to make machines? Or did they just go, oh, like someone must have seen him build a ballista and therefore now we're going to have everybody know how to build all these complex machines?
So I don't think the problem was that Hiccup was an inventor. The problem was that his inventions never worked properly. It's like when he built the little ballista thing, it's like, oh, don't worry, it'll work this time, and then it goes off and hits somebody in the head. It's like, I think the problem was his stuff didn't really work. It's why everyone gave him a hard time. As for why nobody else ever built anything, it's because they didn't need to. Like, he did it to try to overcome his shortfallings as a very scrawny Viking who can't really lift these weapons or throw the nets or whatever. You know, everybody else was able to do that just fine. They had no reason to tinker and invent. I mean, Gobber's little interchangeable hand thing, you know, unscrew hook, screw in hammer for blacksmithing things.
Blacksmith stuffing.
Yeah, blacksmithing things. It's like, that's ingenious, and I don't think Hiccup built that for him. I think he did that for himself. The point is, they only did it because they needed to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's tiny bit different because having, replacing your stump and then just plugging something in, like ball and socket, done. Like, I don't necessarily see that quite as the same level of complexity as building a ballista or building a giant retracting crane mechanism, or like in the third movie when they get trapped on the boat, he drops like an entirely complex chain knitted net with all these traps and machines and stuff, and it's like, well, apparently everybody's just out here inventing crazy ass shit.
I don't know. The thing is, they had a couple of gadgets in the first movie still. Doors that would open at the flick of a lever. I consider that to be craftsmanshipy. Also, a ballista is not that different from a catapult, and they used catapults. Again, I think the main problem was that Hiccup stuff kept backfiring.
Yeah.
He was a screw up.
Still, like, and again, memes in the wild. I don't think the second movie really generated any memes, but the first one had the, you just gestured to all of me. And then the third movie had the mating dance between Toothless and the Light Fury.
With the awkward thumbs up.
With the awkward thumbs up, yeah. Like, that got real famous.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I want to point out about the first movie, because you were talking about how cat-like or dog-like, the dragons acted. Everybody kind of already knows that Toothless was modeled after a cat they had in the studio. They brought a black cat into the studio, and they put a piece of tape on the tip of its tail with a little flag. And then they filmed it as it flopped around on the floor and played with it and like would pounce around or whatever. And when Toothless first attaches when Hiccup first attaches the prosthetic to Toothless's tail, that whole little dance that he does on the beach where he's jumping around and playing with it and stuff and trying to get it off by shaking it, that was just 1-to-1 recording. It was even released on like some of the DVD director's cut or whatever, where they showed the film of the cat flopping around, the exact same animation. It was really cute. But I do feel like they leaned into the puppy kitten thing way harder.
Way too hard. Like, I don't mind when dragons are described as cat-like, especially because to me, like, dragons being cat-like, I'm big cat, like tiger, leopard, whatever, right? Not so much like house cat, which is just like flop and does nothing. Like when Toothless like kind of stalks up on Hiccup a couple of times, once at the very beginning and then once again at the end of movie 3 with the epilogue when he leaps onto the boat and there's the downward stalking motion, right? Yeah, like that's very cat-like in the sense that it's very reminiscent of like a tiger, a lion, or like a leopard or something, right? Mm-hmm. And that's great. That I like. That admittedly, a dragon probably would have a very tiger-like gait about it, or a very bear-like, depending on how they're built. Considering I like the dragons who are able to rear up on their hind legs and use their front ones as hands for short periods of time, they would probably have very bear-like proportions then.
I would think that if you had a dragon, it would probably walk a lot more like a bear than a cat. Cats are also very silent hunters. I don't think dragons would be very capable of being quiet, but also,
Now with how big they
If
are,
you've
and they don't
seen-
have to be. They're flying, and then they ambush you from the sky.
Yeah, but if you ever seen a bear just leisurely walking around, like that thing just oozes power.
It's like nothing can fuck with me.
Nothing can fuck with me. I'm gonna stroll around because what would I ever have to worry about?
Yeah. So the point is, I don't mind some of the cat-like qualities they gave to Toothless and the other dragons, but they definitely went overboard with some of it.
The Light Fury
made it,
was
like,
essentially a pure cat.
Even did the little kitty baps. Bap, bap, bap.
Well, the baby did that. I don't think she ever
Well,
did.
she did a couple of times when when Toothless was trying to hit on her, and like it wasn't working. She would like bap bap bap. What the heck are you doing?
I don't remember her bapping him, but
You probably looked away.
maybe. Yeah, there was some bapping. She also like every mannerism of hers was pure cat. Like, and not even the good kind of cat, the dickish princess cat. Like, just constantly like scowling and pacing and then when she got really nice and she just like borderline purr and like rub underneath him and flick her tail around and stuff, and it's like, oh my god, you are literally a cat in a dragon suit. And Toothless started to imitate it a little bit much for my liking, but
I really feel like the whole series would have been better if Toothless could talk.
no. I don't agree. I think that just having it talk kind of removes the whole. I mean, in an ideal world, yes, he'd be able to talk, but for the movie, no, because at that point, the
Right, it would have been different enough that it would be its own thing.
yeah, the whole
like
the whole misunderstanding thing, like it's obvious that Toothless understands Hiccup, but like if they could just talk, then it would ruin a lot of plot points, because they every time Toothless is trying to
a lot of it would have to be redone.
yeah,
I admit that.
trying to convey a message to Hiccup, and Hiccup doesn't understand, and that leads to some complications. But then if he's just
I just mean, like, I like the Dragon Rider stories where the dragons are actually intelligent and they can talk to their human.
yeah, I agree.
It's like I don't think we'll get that in the remake, but we'll see. It's like in my quest for finding new dragon books to read, particularly audiobooks, because just stuff to listen to at work. There are several that I see that are actually Dragon Rider stories. The main character is actually going to be a human, but the human gets access to a dragon at some point. It's usually like, oh, she worked as a maid or a cook or something, and then this dragon egg was going to be disposed of because it was born stunty or something. But then she saves it, and now she has a dragon, and she's going to have to save the world eventually. Like, I don't remember what book that was, but that was one of the stories. And it's like, want to try one of these Dragon Rider books, but I want the dragon to be handled properly. I want it to be an actual partner, not a tool. I want it to actually be able to talk so they can have some character interactions rather than it just kind of just being a whatever the heck in the background, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just going to have to just pick one and just go and just hopefully it's good.
But
that's the whole point of the podcast, to be the guy that does the experimenting for you.
Yeah. Like, I know what you mean. Like, you don't want the dragons to essentially just be talking cars, where the human is the main character and only talks to the dragon when needed. And
yeah, because he'd rather talk to his other human friends instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, I guess the best analogy would be the old TV show Knight Rider, where the car could talk to him, but was still just a car. It was still just a means to an end for him, full of gadgets. He solved every problem with the car, but the show is very much about Michael Knight.
Yeah, I also don't want a Dragon Rider story where the dragon can't talk at all because he's just he might as well just be a horse, right?
Yeah.
Like the story is all about these three humans instead. It's like, nah. It's why I'm reading the Daughter of the Serpentine, whatever the heck that series is called, the sequel series to Age of Fire. And while I'm interested to see where it goes, I'm just she needs to get a dragon already. But of course, you know nothing about that, so whatever.
Yeah. So one thing I want to say, I didn't really care for Drago as a bad guy. He was the standard big tough. So whenever you have, like, especially with family friendly or kids entertainment, the best way you can tell if a guy is evil is because he looks dirty and he's really big. Like big, muscle bound, the main character is completely dwarfed by him, he's a big imposing wall of meat. And granted, some of the Vikings, the good guy Vikings, were also that way, but not quite that big. I think even this bad guy was bigger than Stoic, wasn't he?
I'm trying to remember when they were standing next to each other. I think he was definitely comparable. I think Stoic was slightly bigger, actually.
Oh. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense because his name is Stoic the Vast. But yeah, it's like that's the best way to portray this is a bad guy. Give him angry eyes where he's always frowning or always angry eyebrows, and then make him big, make him imposing, and make his armor or his clothes look dirty, rough, dark, whatever. Classic bad guy shit. Whereas the bad guy, Grimmel, from the third movie, I told Ray while we were watching, I said he gave me Warhammer vibes. He looked like an Inquisitor. He looked like a medieval version of an Inquisitor.
The thing is, he was also behaving like an Inquisitor. The concept of, I hate dragons, I'm going to kill them all, but you have dragons. Oh, that's because they're just my tools and they're drugged into obedience or whatever. It's like the Inquisition hates demonkind, but they'll use demons as long as they're working for themselves, for them, right?
Yeah, it is funny how that happens in Warhammer. It's like, no, under no circumstances can you fraternize with the enemy, except when I do it, because then it's a means to an end.
Yeah.
If I can use one dragon...
Like they also don't like mutants, like suffer not the mutant, the witch, the heretic.
Yeah.
It's like, no mutants allowed, but then the Imperial Guard have this entire mutant regiment, they're basically ogres. I don't remember what they're actually called, though.
Yeah.
Catachan?
I don't know, but they're like, well, I mean, if they go in first and they all die, it's no big loss, and at least maybe we've made it down in the numbers, yeah. But like,
yeah, so he was definitely very inquisitorial.
Yeah, but I liked it. I liked him better than Drago as a bad guy because he was a small, scrawny, thin person with.
Yeah, I definitely liked the kind of elegant grace he had about him, rather than just I'm this big hulky scary guy who's going to scream at a dragon. Roar!
He would brood. He would pace around. There was a scene where he broke into Hiccup's house to essentially give him an offering. Like, hey, just surrender your dragon to me, and this will all go away. I mean, his whole motivations were a lot more stupid than Drago's, because he was just like, I killed 99.9% of all Night Furies in existence, and this one's still alive, so I have to kill it because completion checkmark, I guess. I don't know. But so his motivations were way dumber. But and he had his MacGuffin weapon, whereas I guess we can agree that Drago could just yell at and intimidate dragons into being obedient or whatever. This dude had a crossbow with drug darts where, it would just knock you out for what it seemed like maybe 30 seconds. Like he got to shoot, I think, 3 things in the third movie with his drug darts, and one of them was against a person. And he woke up like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes later. So I think it's just meant to drug you long enough to put the bridle on and put more drugs into your system.
Something like that. I don't know.
He shoots Toothless, and Toothless goes down, and then I swear to God, 30 to 45 seconds later, Toothless is getting back up. So it doesn't really seem...
Yeah, it could have been like a minute or two. He got tackled into the ground, and then she saved him, and then Pat knows, good morning, buddy. So yeah, it was probably a couple minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like the drugs work very, very long. It's just long enough for him to get the harness on them, which has like a whole bunch of drug vials jammed into it. That is just, and I mentioned to Ray again, I fully understand kids movie, but like, you got to understand these kids movies have to put adult jokes in there to entertain the adults that are bringing the kids to the movies. So maybe throw a little bit more realism into it, because there's a point in the movie where he puts the harness on the Light Fury and drugs her, and then she's suddenly super obedient to him, and then Hiccup pulls the harness off of her, and her eyes, they denote when they're drugged and obedient because their eyes become super little slits. And then he pulls the harness off and her eyes immediately shift back. And it's like, no, she's still got the drugs in her system. That's fucking stupid. You don't pull the harness off and magically she's better.
But they needed her to save Toothless.
That's so stupid to me, though. It's like, I understand, but the drugs would still need time to get out of their system.
Also, I don't think there actually could be a drug that would make you that complacent.
There is. I don't remember what it's called because drug names, but there is that drug where, the truth serum, where it completely shuts off your reasoning part of your brain. And
Right, but I wouldn't but that's not the same thing as like you're drugged into obeying this guy's orders completely.
I mean, there definitely is, because even with that drug, you don't understand that you're in trouble or you're in danger. If someone asks you a question, you answer it honestly. If they tell you, "Hey, come follow me," you're gonna do it because your brain just is not telling you that this is a bad idea.
Right, I feel like it make you more agreeable, maybe, but not like to the level of mind control that would happen in these movies and stuff.
Oh.
Let's get a virologist on here.
But the second and third movie, both dealing with mind control, seems kind of shitty. The third movie had almost no downtime, like almost zero, like slow paced, like let's talk scenes. They didn't last nearly as, there were a couple in the third movie, but they didn't last nearly as long as any of them in the first movie. The third movie was just action, 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 to the point where while the climax of the movie was happening, I felt like this is too early. And I looked down at the progress bar of the movie and I was like, holy shit, this movie's almost over. I feel like nothing, I feel like this movie, but that could be a couple things. It could also be the fact that I'm used to watching movies that are 2.5 hours long. And this was an hour shorter, so I'm used to things pacing out more. Ray made a joke when we were about to start the movie. He asked how long it was. I said an hour and 30, and he goes, back in the days before 2-hour long movies were the standard. And I'm like, yeah, I like that, though. It's like if I'm paying fucking $25 to go see a movie, including, and concessions, it's like, I just sneak my own food in now, but... So an average ticket price, let's say, is like $15 for one person. It's like, I don't know. I want 2 hours out of that. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with long movies because I've always been a huge movie buff. I love movies, and so the longer the better for me. Although unless the movie is terrible, if the movie's terrible, then it's a much deeper torture. Especially when you're in the movies. Like, there have been movies where I've gone to the theater and watched a movie, and about half an hour in, I went, wow, this fucking sucks. And I've walked out. And I don't remember what movies those were, because they were back when I used to work for a movie theater, like in 2006. So, but there have been movies where I've just straight up walked out and either walked into a different movie to just...
Illegal.
I don't care. I paid admission to be within a theater. I don't care what I'm doing with it. But, they also, in Massachusetts, Ray, they didn't have assigned seating. So you buy a ticket to the theater and then you just go. So as long as there was an open seat, you could sit in it. But, I prefer longer movies. I really feel like 3 could have handled another half an hour tacked onto it with, like,
probably
some pacing. Just something to smooth out the pacing, Because the only slow scene that I recall in the third movie was when he had the map on the ground held down by the rocks and he was making plans or whatever. And then he, like, said goodbye to Toothless or whatever. That was the only one that I really feel was slow enough to break up the pacing of the movie. Because then the last 45 minutes was just all action. And then Ray and I also had discussions on the fact that, as I mentioned before, people are swinging weapons around. No one's getting actually hurt. The
only dead body that they ever see on screen is Storks after he gets blasted by Toothless, and he's just dead. Like there's no brief moment of consciousness where he's like dying, gasping, coughing, whatever. He's just dead.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And I remember being pretty impressed by the fact that he wasn't like,
No final words.
Because I hate that trope.
No final words, no final goodbye.
I hate that trope so goddamn much when a character gets hit by something that would have just straight up ended somebody, right? And then a whole fight scene happens and then the good guy returns to the dying friend or whatever. And they'll be alive forever. Like it almost makes me think, like, if you just never talk to them, are they just going to survive forever because they haven't given you their last words? So as long as you just avoid that person forever, they'll always be perpetually alive
in a constant state of pain.
Yeah, but whenever they do that, I always am really impressed, and to me makes the scene much more heartbreaking. It's happened in a couple of the video games I played recently, and where a character gets hit by something really bad, and another character does the classic, slide over on their knees, lift their head with one hand, and then try to talk to them, and they look up and they just kind of go, and then
it's
just
the thing
die.
I agree with you that it is definitely tropey. The whole last goodbyes, last words.
I'm going to give you all the information you need.
Yeah, it's tropey, and so I understand it being refreshing when they don't do that. But on the other hand, just the kapow, boom, dead, nothing, feels like you're robbed of something. Like it's so much sadder because you don't get to say I love you or goodbye to your kid or your friend or your whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's sadder. It's more impactful.
You don't really get closure.
Yeah, that's way more sad. If you're trying to make the audience feel sad about a character's death, kill them. Don't injure them grievously and then wait for the hero to have a heartfelt, tear-filled moment where they're like, "No, don't leave me. No, I'll be waiting for you on the other side. Oh, by the way, the bad guy's plot is this, and the only way to stop him is this."
The only way to stop him is bleh. No, don't even get to say what it is.
No one just carves. Ah. Yeah, I don't like the whole as Teresa Nixon already and Stan said, the last breath trope. It's aggravating to me. I prefer I mean the worst example of it ever, don't worry, it won't be too much of a tangent, was the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. One of the characters gets a shuriken the size of a dinner plate stuck in her goddamn head. Like someone throws it and it hits her right in the forehead and goes into her brain, and she drops. And then they have a little fight scene with the bad guys, and the bad guys leave or die or whatever. And then one of the good guys comes over to talk to the person who got a shuriken stuck in their skull, and they're still capable of talking, and then they pass out. And it's like, you've got like 5 pounds of steel sticking out of your brain. Bullshit. I like I said, I like it, and it's refreshing to me when the last breath trope is not used.
Yeah.
I'm also
kill off a minimum of 2 characters. You can have 1 last breath and 1 nothing.
There you go. That's fine. I absolutely agree with that.
What's also worth noting is Stoic gets blasted, dead. He's got no burns, no scorch marks, no nothing. There's no visible damage on him.
Well, because I think Hiccup's Toothless's weapon is plasma based, isn't it? He doesn't really have.
No, it's still fire. It's blue because it's supposed to be hotter, I believe.
Yeah.
But the point being that he had no damage on him, the same way they're not allowed to show blood or whatever. The first alpha gets stabbed in the gut by the other alpha's big horns, and those horns come out completely clean. There's no blood. There's no wound. There's nothing. It's like it's a bit too much
cartoony
content tiptoeing going around here.
Well,
with we can't show this.
The moment you show blood, again, this is just the way I think. I'm very sorry. Tangents. But the Batman animated series. They never ever Batman's literally throwing his shurikens at people, and they're just going with a flash of white light, and they fall over. It wasn't until the very last season of the animated series that they actually showed a character bleed. And I remember watching that when it came out on TV and going, oh, blood, like actual fucking blood. And
dude, that was my reaction when I saw Puss in Boots bleed in the last movie.
Oh yeah. Like when he got scratched, or by the very tip of the wolf's blade, and then
avoid too many spoilers in case, but yeah.
And then blood drips down his forehead, and he panics, and it's like, that was fucking good.
That was real good. It's okay to show blood, guys.
It told so much in that one scene. Just showing that trickle of blood showed that first, he's never had his blood drawn. He's always been so good at fencing and avoiding danger that nothing has ever...
The cartoon plot armor is gone now.
The cartoon plot armor is gone. Like, he legitimately is afraid for the first time in his 9 lives. That was...
And yeah, it was great. But like on the topic of cartoon plot armor, just the whole idea with Hiccup wanting to be like, no, we can talk to him. Like, I changed your mind, I can change his in the second movie, and then the third movie was like, you've never fought anybody like Grindelwald. What a fucking name.
Grimmel?
It's like he'll never give up, he'll come for you. Well, then we'll be waiting. Just the fucking arrogant confidence that some of these main characters can have sometimes because, well, yeah, we just had like 7 seasons of a TV show where you've overcome every single challenge you've went up against. It's about time you get put in your freaking place.
Yeah.
It's like, so on the one hand, I love overpowered protagonist animes and stories and whatnot because my power fantasy is to be overpowered because I struggle in real life. I don't want to be struggling in my fantasies also. So I like overpowered protagonist content. But at the same time, every now and then, feels so good to have the hero put in their freaking place when their confidence and arrogance gets the better of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually share that opinion 100%. I like overpowered animes. I like overpowered animes where the whole joke is that they're overpowered. Because
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man, stuff like that. Because the point of One Punch Man is not One Punch Man. It's the characters around him. And that's usually when you have a power fantasy type anime or TV show, it's more about the supporting cast of characters around them that are their family or close circle. Because when you have an all-powerful character that can't be defeated, the best thing to do at that point is to go after their friends. But yeah, it did kind of feel good. The only thing that didn't feel good about the third How to Train Your Dragon was the fact that Hiccup did what he thought was best for his people by once the bad guy knew where they were and knew where his house was or whatever, they were like, we need to leave. Burke is not a place, it's a people, we're going to leave. And apparently that was exactly what the bad guy wanted. He's like, oh, now they've left their only defensible position. They're definitely going in this direction because they wouldn't go here, here, or here. And it's like, it felt like if you didn't show the bad guy scene that what Hiccup was doing was the right thing, but it was exactly what the bad guy expected. And it's like, why don't you just go north to the snow? It's like, yeah, Night Furies can't survive there, but you can fix that. You can build houses apparently in days. And
you actually can build houses in days if you know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, but it's like build a house, fill it with fire pits, light them all, and Toothless can just chill in there. Like, it's fine. It aggravated me when they cut back to the bad guy and he's got the battle map and he's like, okay, well, they're leaving just as I expected, and they're gonna go here just as I suspected. And it's like...
Well, he only had the general direction. He didn't know where their home was. That's why he had to follow Rough Nut.
Yeah. I love Rough Nut and Tough Nut, by the way. They're my favorite characters.
I like Acid. She's my favorite, surprisingly.
Because she's no nonsense. She's the character who, when she talks, her plan is immediately better than anything else anyone else has come up with. But they don't listen to her, usually.
And at the same time, she's incredibly supportive.
She's also really supportive, yeah.
Yeah, like in the first movie when they find the Island of Dragons and Hiccup wants to keep it a secret to keep Toothless safe. She's like, are you serious? The thing that we've been looking for 7 generations, you want to keep that a secret just to keep your pet dragon safe? And he's like, yes. And then she's like, okay.
All right.
Well,
yeah. Like,
then what are we going to do?
You said that with such conviction. Yeah, okay.
And then she's just suddenly on board and supportive. It's like, that's beautiful.
The How to Train Your Dragon, we actually went to... So I mentioned this to Ray's partner. We're planning on taking another trip to Universal, I think next year.
I think it was supposed to be November next year.
November next year
was the last I heard.
The reason why is because the new park is going to be opening in the Florida Universal Studios, which is their Epic Worlds park, and that's
Epic something.
Epic Worlds, I think, are. But point being is that it's going to have the Super Mario World in it. It's also going to have a lot of video game themed rides and a lot of video game themed franchises. But it's also going to be the place where How to Train Your Dragon and Universal properties are going to be. Things like the original Universal monsters like Mummy and Werewolf and Dracula and stuff. but it's going to be a quote-unquote theme park of basically some of their biggest IPs. And I remember the last time we went, we actually watched the mascot dance, or whatever, the mascot experience. And
yeah, it's definitely meant for little kids, but it was so fun to go
it was
to.
really, no, I'm not criticizing it. It's just I was really disappointed that Toothless wasn't there.
Asked them where Toothless was because there was like a picture of him on the wall. And it's like, hey, is Toothless coming out, or is it
They
like
said,
this
no,
long
he's
day
in
for him?
California right now. And I'm like, God damn it. But we did get to
Yeah.
see Puss, so that was good.
Yeah.
And King Julian, because King Julian was good shit. That brings me to another point. We can circle back to the movies if we need to, but we did watch one episode of Rescue Riders. And the Rescue Riders, I'm not going to insult it the way I was planning on it, but like any time that you have an animated movie like How to Train Your Dragon or Madagascar, or even Penguins of Madagascar, you have the tie-in TV show that comes out shortly after, and it looks like shit. It looks like downgrading from PS3 to PS1 graphics.
You vastly reduced the number of polygons. You greatly stripped down the textures.
Reduced
so
the lighting almost entirely.
So you can save on rendering time to get these episodes out faster.
Yeah. And the animation, like the amount of frames it takes a character to go from position A to position B is reduced by like 30% or 50%. And
It usually ends up with a real jerky looking animation style.
And, you know, like the King Julian TV series, the Penguins of Madagascar TV series, they both fell. Like, they looked awful. Video games have done a better job than those. But, you know, the Riders TV show was kind of the same thing. Yeah, it was much more cartoony and much more colorful, bright, well lit. There was no shadows.
But like it worked.
Huh?
But like it worked, though.
It worked, though. Yeah, because it was basically a better version of like Paw Patrol. You know, it was a cute show. The animation studio that worked on it, I haven't checked, but I'm wondering if they made the Spyro one, because the dragons looked like Spyro, like they would fit right in Spyro's world anyway.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Pretty close to the same style.
But we did also watch the Christmas special.
Real fast, just to kind of finish up the some movie talk. A couple of things that I want to just touch on with those. Two tropes from the last movie, basically. One is the love interest for Toothless. Was that really necessary? Like, did we really need a female Light Fury?
I mean,
what are your thoughts on it before I say my thoughts on it?
My thoughts are, I wasn't bothered by it nearly as much as you were. And the reason why is because, look at it from Toothless's perspective. He's living in a city of just thousands and thousands of dragons and humans living together and watching, probably day to day, as people get together and make out and cuddle and, you know, make babies. And Toothless doesn't have that. Like, maybe he understands that he's the last one, and that's got to be fucking depressing. And it's like, I don't necessarily agree that it had to be a white female version of him. It could have been a different dragon species. That would have been fine. But I don't agree with the way she looked and like her whole character existing, but I do agree that he needed a love interest. Because that's just awful if he's consigned to constantly being the third wheel. Especially if Hiccup and Astrid, when they got together, like, that would have been brutal.
Yeah, but I'm like, so first off, there's the whole concept of, does everything need a love interest? And this is particularly important for How to Train Your Dragon 1, where it's like, the opening crawl, where he's like, this is Burke, we get raided by dragons, and this is these people, and this is whatever. And then when he introduces Astrid, she's got like the explosion behind her, the slow hair tone, the look of love in his eyes that's supposed to let the audience know, oh, he has a crush on her, right? Yeah. It's like, do we really need a love interest? Does every character need to have a love interest? Can we just finally have a movie or a series or whatever that the main character is just fine just being himself? Not everything needs a love interest. And I feel like that bleeds a little into the third one, where I don't know if Toothless necessarily needed a love interest. Like, what comes from that? It's not even like he technically gets to perpetuate his species because they're hybrid children now. because he was literally the last Night Fury. They didn't go with the whole, oh, we found another Night Fury, so you get to keep, you get to propagate the species, you get to keep the species alive. Like, they didn't do that. So at that point, did we really need a love interest?
So
I can understand you saying he needs companionship because everybody else around him is getting hooked up. Like, sure, I get that. But then we get into the whole, didn't think it had to be a light Fury either. Something that looks much like him. He should have totally gone with Stormfly.
So I decided to look it up because it didn't really sit right with me that, she's not a Night Fury. She is. She is the exact same species as him, just a variation of his species. She is not the last of her kind. Toothless is the last of the Night Fury subspecies. So it would be like a grizzly bear falling in love with a black bear. They're still bears. They're still the same species. They're just not the exact same subspecies. But she is
Was it genus, I think?
She is the same as him. So they are able to have kids. And this is from an interview with the director. Because the Slash film did an interview and he asked about the Light Fury, and he says the Light Fury is a variation of Toothless' species, the Night Fury. She's not the last of her kind, unlike Toothless, and her story is one that's a bit mysterious. We try to intentionally keep her wild and elusive to represent something that is pure dragon, that she hasn't been tainted by human beings or domestication. She does have,
which I guess I can appreciate that aspect.
Yeah,
of
she
it.
does have the unique ability to cloak. Toothless can't do it. She can.
He does it later in the movie, though.
Well, he did it with lightning. He was able to disappear into the clouds with a flash of lightning or something.
No, he flat out did the whole my skin changes the color of the thing behind me. He flat out cloaked, like old sci-fi movie style cloaking.
Yeah, you're right. They did do it in the movie, but from this interview, he says that he doesn't have that ability.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Teresa Nix brought up a good point. He does cloak, but with the power of lightning, and now I'm rereading the rest of the sentence. He says she has the unique ability to use her fire to cloak. So maybe she doesn't have the electrical abilities that Toothless does, but she can do it in a different way. But yeah, she is a Night Fury, or let's just say his species,
a cousin species
is Fury. And, but that's why they're able to have kids. And, oh my God. Their kids. It
was a marketing ploy.
It was such a marketing ploy. That's the only reason
he had to get hooked up.
It was such a marketing ploy. I don't agree with making the kids all black and white modeled, because that's not how that works.
No, it's not. It's like you'd have some kids that would be black, some to be white, and maybe a couple would be
like random
gray or some really weird other mixture, right? You don't suddenly start this color splotching these guys.
Like with cats, if an orange male cat, has kittens with a black female cat, the kittens will pretty much be either orange or black, and sometimes they can be something crazy. Like there was one, I watch a lot of cat videos, and there was one where a white male cat and a black female cat had kittens, and one of them came out gray with stripes. And it's like it's just random. It's a flip of the coin, So, but the babies are definitely there to sell plushes and toys. But holy shit, are they cute as fuck?
They really should have made a TV series around them, which I'll touch on that again later. But yeah, the other trope that came in the movie that I don't know how I feel about is the whole, we have to separate the two worlds. The dragons must go to their world and we stay in ours. We can no longer live together.
It's like, have you not been living together wonderfully and in peace? The only thing that's been fucking things up is random greedy ass humans from other tribes.
Mm-hmm. It's like, and I can devil's advocate it a bit. I can be like, no, yeah, with the 7 seasons of the TV show and then the 2 villains from these 2 movies, it's very obvious that the dragons are going to keep getting hunted down and exploited because humans are terrible. So hide them until humans can learn to not be such terrible people. Never.
And that's why we don't have any dragons.
I can devil's advocate it, but again, I don't like the idea that they have to separate the 2 worlds because that feels like a giving up kind of choice. But it's also the only reason they did it was to try to tie it into the real world of like, oh no, don't worry, dragons existed. They're just not here now because this is where they went instead. Yeah. No. Rather than let's just have an alternate universe where dragons existed. Like, the Nine Realms TV show, which I'll get into more later, is supposed to be modern day dragons are starting to pop back up, but the world doesn't know that they're real. They're just myths and legends, and then these kids happen to find some. It's like, that could have easily just been his modern day with dragons in it, because dragons have always been around, because this is just a version of Earth that has dragons. It's like, we don't need to keep tying everything into, oh, but this could be real life because they're just hiding. Like Lord of the Rings did it too. The elves go across the water, the dwarves go into their mines, the hobbits start disappearing and whatever, and we're now just turning into normal Britain. It's like, you don't have to tie everything into the real world.
I absolutely agree. The landscape and archipelago style of those islands was way too fantasy to be existing in real life. It did not need to be ancient Earth. You know, it could have been its own world.
Yeah. But so that's just my gripe on that. Like, we didn't need to separate the two worlds. Like, that felt forced because you have to do this tie-in. It would have been better if everyone just continued living together, and that would have been great. And then you could have toothless kids living with hiccup kids, and that would have been the most adorable thing in the world.
Yeah. So at the end of the movie, you get to see the kids for a brief moment. And, you know, it's super cute and stuff. And I remember saying out loud, I was like, that better not be all they show of the kids, because if they really did truly make these things for merchandising, which, I mean, what movie doesn't? You know, you made them disgustingly adorable for a reason, you know? So I was like, we better get to see more of them. And then they released a holiday special, which I guess came out a couple months after the last movie dropped. Which I was surprised that it had the same graphical fidelity of the movie. The voice acting seemed a little bit more rushed. Definitely seemed a lot more after-school special for voice acting. But the lighting and, you know, tone looked like it could have just been the epilogue of the movie. But the plot of the Christmas special being that his kids, Hiccup's kids, have forgotten the old ways.
The daughter found the old how to kill dragon manual
from Stoic.
And now she's like, oh, dragons are evil because look how dangerous they are.
Yeah. But his kids basically are like, oh, dragons are evil, we have to kill them. And his daughter is really good at making dragon traps. And, you know, they start throwing fruit at Stoic's statue. And it's like, God damn, who's raising these kids? Like, the whole village is on oral tradition, and these kids don't know jack shit. But he's like, I know the only way to possibly steer my kids back on the right course is to hold a pageant and tell them about the history of Burke through theater.
Well, you know, that's how the oral tradition works.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that that's the stupid part. It's just, you know, maybe also back that up with some actual parenting for once. But meanwhile, back on Dragon Island, where Toothless and his mate are and all his babies, Toothless drew Hiccup as a stick figure in the sand, and then the babies go over and draw wings on him, and then Toothless erases it and draws a mountain over the thing, and then a little dragon with an arrow pointing to the whatever, like that's where the humans live or something.
No, I think it was him asking the Light Fury if we go visit, and she's like, no.
Yeah, but then what ends up happening is the kids...
There should have been subtitles for that section, just because even if they can't speak with humans, they can speak with each other. Give them subtitles so we can like understand them while they just go...
But then the kids get curious, and the kids decide to go find Hiccup because they want to see what the deal is. And the whole Christmas special acts like neither children of either side have ever seen each other, have ever seen humans or ever seen dragons, because the kids are like, oh, dragons are real. And it's like, bitch, it was like, what, 2 years ago? Like, come on. I think you'd remember if you flew around on the back of a fucking dragon with your dad like you did at the end of the third movie. But and the dragon babies are like, holy shit, humans. And it's like, yeah, you were there too, flying alongside your mother, you fucking dumbasses. Yeah, it's a whole lot of the stage show goes haywire. Toothless ends up saving Hiccup's life after Hiccup falls off a cliff in a fursuit, or a mechanical dragon suit, whatever.
You know, I'm suddenly thinking if maybe the Christmas special is supposed to be an alternate ending to the third movie, which is why they reused the pre-credits flying in the air scenes.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't necessarily think that Christmas specials need to exactly tie in. I mean, this one kind of did, but Christmas specials are really just there to put on for kids to be entertained for half an hour. But it was a decent Christmas special. It was like, what, 24 minutes long? 22 minutes long, and it showed a lot of the baby dragons and a lot of their personality, which you didn't get a chance to see any of their personality in the ending of the third movie, but they made two of them constantly bickering and fighting, which was adorable, like constantly looking to pounce each other and do the cat baps and everything. Whereas one of them, the one with the spot on his nose, he was just, as one of our friends who was watching with us said, he'd grow up to be the dragon nerd. But yeah,
he's fascinated with humans.
Yeah. But like doing stuff that a lot of the dragons never seem to do in the movies. Like one of the dragons uses his wing to push down his sibling's head because they're hiding. And it's like, using their wings and tails a lot more because
actually using their anatomy.
Yeah, using their anatomy a lot more to gesture or whatever. And I thought that was really cute. But the babies were disgusting. They were eye cancer, like or not cancer, diabetes. Yeah, like eye diabetes. Yeah, eye candy.
Do you remember if that was on Netflix or Hulu?
That was on Netflix.
No, it was Hulu.
It was Hulu? The Christmas special?
And then
then you went back to Netflix for the Rescue Riders.
Yeah. So if 22 minutes on Hulu, if you have Hulu, Christmas special, enjoy it.
It is really cute.
It's
zero stakes.
Not sassy. It's not sassy's not the word. It's sappy. It's super sappy Christmas special stuff, but you know what? It's pretty good for what it is.
Yeah, and toward the end of the Christmas special, one of the kids gets to, because Toothless is there, and helping save the play. And one of the kids sees Toothless and does the whole hand thing, and Toothless pushes his nose, and she immediately is like, "Oh my God, I love Toothless so much!" And then, I
mean, to be fair, that's all it would take for me to love Toothless.
Yeah, but to go from building traps with the intent of killing them and that they're monsters to touching one and being like, "Oh my God," like just immediate flip of the switch, and then they're like paying respects.
Kids do be fickle.
And then they're paying respects to Stoic's statue. Like, it's like, holy crap, you guys had more character development in the last 5 minutes than most characters get in an entire movie. And it's like, but it just was really abrupt. Like, it made me hate the human kids. It really did. But the babies the dragon babies were fucking adorable.
All right, we're at an hour and a half, so we're going to kind of go through the other How to Train Your Dragon related things really fast. Dragon Riders of Berk, we didn't see. I think I may have seen 1 or 2 episodes incidentally, because I know Tanith watched it a lot. Dillaton was supposed to cover that, but overall, he says it's really good. He enjoyed the whole thing, obviously. And I've actually heard good things about it. I think it's actually supposed to be really well made.
I mean, we could probably just save that for another episode and just do...
Probably, but it's here for the people that want to just hear about, like, real fast 2 sentences each. The book series... completely different story. For example, the book series opens up with the Vikings already being friends with the dragons. You have to bond with one as part of the ritual to become a man and fully join the tribe. So the book opens up with Hiccup and all the other kids going to steal a dragon egg so they can hatch it, raise it, and train it. So it's a completely different storyline. In that, Toothless is he's, quote, a common garden dragon. He's not super special. Until stuff happens, stuff gets figured out later on. But he's doesn't start out special. He's also a bit of an ass, doesn't listen, real kind of sassy or whatever. And yeah, it's a completely different story. It's definitely written for kids though, so you may not enjoy it unless you're reading it to a kid. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on your outlook on books. I mean, I still to this day love Goosebumps, and those are very much written for like 13-year-olds. You know?
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to Animorphs because that's the thing I used to read when I was in like 4th grade. But I don't know if I could stomach it at this
because your word palette has gotten too complex.
Yes, it's kind of like how if you go back to watch an old cartoon from the 90s and you're watching it like, oh god, this is so cringy.
No, I'd never get that. Sorry.
You just have no self-shame.
I have no self-shame. I watch old stuff all the time, and I find it charming, and it's so funny that because old media you could get away with a lot more than you can now. because advertisers didn't like have a death grip over the fucking entirety of media and culture. And it's like now the moment an advertiser gets upset about something, it's censored and changed. I mean, they fucking, is it Penguin or Scholastic Books or whatever? They're like changing stuff from major book franchises from years and years ago. They re-released Dr. Seuss books with some changes because they thought that it would be more PC. And if this was done without the permission or approval of the Seuss estate, it was the publishers who own the rights and were like, yeah, we're just changing some stuff to fit more in line with modern culture. And it's like, don't do that. Like, it's fine. It can be a product of its time. Warner Brothers and Disney kind of have the right idea. Just show it, but have a disclaimer in the beginning. Like, this was a product of its time. We mean no offense,
Yeah.
I don't agree with
censorship in general is
constantly
bad.
smoothing the rough edges of old media, and it's like, no, it was...
Let the rough edges show so you can see where we came
Yeah.
from. See how we've grown and adapted to society.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Video games.
no video games.
Okay.
Just finish with the series first, then we can do the video games. So Dragon, the Nine Realms, the modern day series that they did. I didn't like it. I watched 4 episodes of it just to get a general idea for it. I don't really like it because it takes the whole dragons act like pets and like turns it up to 11. These kids are at a science facility and they start to discover dragons. They start to bond with them and like, oh, we need to keep them safe now. It definitely feels kind of dumbed down, and it's not How to Train Your Dragon like at all. Like again, it's as different from the movies as the movies are from the book. It's a completely different thing that they just kept some of the names, some of the species names, some of the whatever. But it's like it's really its own thing. I guess if you go and watch it, understanding that it's its own thing, don't pretend it has nothing to do with How to Train Your Dragon, then it could probably be good. It might be somewhat enjoyable. I don't know how cheesy or campy it gets later on because I only saw the opening episodes to see like what they were trying to go with it. But it's not How to Train Your Dragon, but it is technically a dragon show, so it might still be decent. Then we both saw the first episode of Rescue Riders, which was surprisingly good. Like, I'll probably watch that some more before I watch Nine Realms. It definitely also feels like it's made for a younger audience, slightly older than Paw Patrol, I think. But it was good quality. The voice acting was pretty good, so Rescue Riders is definitely worth checking out. That was on Netflix. Nine Realms was on Hulu. I think that's all the series that I can remember, at least. So sure, you can talk about your video game real fast, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, because like Ray said that he played the mobile game. I never did, because
I played a mobile game. I'm sure there was more than one. I don't remember what it was called because it was 8 years ago. It was your normal mobile game where you log in, you set construction of a building that's going to take 12 hours. You can speed up, of course. You have these dragons who you have to feed every 6 hours, and if you want to hatch an egg, then it's going to take 24 hours to hatch. And you can send your dragons out on supply runs, and they'll come back in 6 hours with some resources. It was your normal, just idle mobile game.
The one that I played, I believe, was for PS2. It might have been PS3, but it was a movie tie-in game where it followed zero plot. You were just a young Viking in the village of Berk. You were given a dragon. I believe you're given the same dragon that Astrid has, the spiky bird-looking one. And then you have to go around the island doing random quests. You know, like, oh, God, I left my cookies in the woods. Can you get them for me? And so you go get them. And you're rewarded with dragon parts, which then you can go into a cave and change parts on your dragon. So you can, like, change their head shape, their legs, their wings, their tails. You can add, you know, like a club or a blade on their tail or something, or add horns or feathers. It was basically just like a Pokemon game where instead of collecting different dragons, you had one dragon that could assume thousands of different variations.
So it was Mudbots.
It was, yeah. And you would have to fight against other people or other dragons, and it was all right. It was surprisingly high effort. Like, the game looked pretty good. It looked like a standard like Ratchet and Clank platformer. But yeah, it was pretty shallow because it was a tie-in game.
I remember, I personally, I like mobile games. So the one that I played 8 years ago was fun. I liked it. There was this weird glitch. So what happens when you get resources, they come in basically booster packs. You open a booster pack and you get a card this is 100 wood, and then this one's 200 stone, and this one's 20 gold, right? That's just the interface they went to use, where there was basically, when your dragon comes back, he brought you back this booster pack, it's got this stuff in it. And then, of course, you could microtransaction, just buy booster packs if you needed more whatever. There was this really weird glitch, which I don't think the game exists anymore, but if it does, I guarantee you it's fixed now, where when your dragon comes back from a raid or whatever, it gives you some booster packs, and you can tap on them to open them, and you'll get the resources. But as long as you don't close the booster pack opening screen, because you tap the booster pack and then it pops up, opens here are the cards you got. The resources are now inside your island storehouse. But if you don't close the look what you got screen and you force close the game and relaunch it, you still have the resources, but the game doesn't realize you already opened the pack because you didn't close the window. So you could just keep opening pack after pack after pack after pack.
That's great.
It was beautiful, and I managed to. I abused that so hard.
Did they
unlocked all the things?
Did they fix it? I'm assuming.
I guarantee you it's fixed by now, because that's a lot of lost revenue if they haven't. But I don't know. I never got caught or banned because I just lost interest in the game before they caught on, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny.
Yeah. When you find little exploits like that. Mm-hmm. Especially when they release patch notes for a game and they announce exploits that they fixed, and you're like, damn it! If only I knew.
One thing I want to mention about Rescue Red is the TV show real fast that I forgot until just now. The dragons in that talk. They actually have voices. They can talk. The concept is the two human kids that were raised by dragons, so I guess they can speak dragon or whatever, because they're the only ones who can understand them. But the point is the dragon characters have voices and dialogue, and that already makes it a lot better than a lot of this other stuff that comes out.
I disagree. I thought that it was incredibly campy, and having all those characters talking all amongst themselves was just time wasty. I really don't think that those dragons, because that didn't feel like a How to Train Your. Once the dragon started talking, it didn't feel like How to Train Your Dragon. It felt like Spyro.
Yeah, again, it's barely tying into the IP, honestly. So many different directions they're going with it.
Yeah, it as soon as I saw the blue dragon that the main character dude was riding, Dax, I was like, that's,
he literally looks like he belongs in
literally is a repainted
Spyro Skylanderverse.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that's everything we really want to touch on, right?
Yeah. We might later on, if things are getting rough and we need a quote unquote break, we might just do one of the TV series.
Yeah, possibly. I have to figure out how we want to handle TV series in general.
Well, because there's multiple TV series, so we could each pick one series and watch the entirety of it.
Well, that's the thing. Do you want to watch 7 seasons of a TV series for an episode, or will we just do season 1, maybe season 2 if they're short seasons, and be like, this is a good enough?
I feel like 2 weeks we could get through an entire series. I mean, you know me, I can binge watch a TV show. I spent back when Breaking Bad, when I was able to watch that, I binge watched that from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed.
Yeah, because pretty soon I'm going to force you guys to watch Dota Dragon's Blood.
Yeah.
There are dragon characters. They may not show up as often as I would like, but at the same time, there's a whole lot of really interesting dragon lore, particularly with the Thunder, as they call it, that I want you guys to see and touch on.
The thing is that I the type of person I am, my imagination has been shot by years and years of just, I guess, I don't know, alcohol abuse and video games. But to the point where when I read a book, I don't really imagine a lot. I can't look at, I can't look within and imagine what this character looks like. And if they over-explain what the character looks like, it just aggravates me. But when I'm watching a TV show, I can see the character. I can look at them on the screen. I don't need 3 pages to tell me what they're wearing. And then it's fine. The character can be on the screen, say something, and it's much more memorable to me than reading 10 pages of a book.
But yeah, so I guess we'll close up here. Thank you for joining us as we talk about basically just kind of touching on How to Train Your Dragon as a whole, focus mostly on the movies, but we kind of touch on all the other tie-ins, I think.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts, any retorts, any requests, anything you wish to get into contact with us, Bantam can tell you where to do that.
I can.
But
I
you?
will. So you can, you can reach us on Twitter at officialwadpod. Our email is wadpodcastmail@gmail.com. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/worldofdragonspodcast. And our Discord will be linked in the show notes. How close are we to getting a custom URL?
About as close as last time. We haven't gotten any new.
So it's not
boosters
continuous. Yet. Because I get charged like $5 every month by Discord.
No, it's the amount of boost also resets every month, so it's got to be consistent. It's not give us this much and you unlock this forever. It's as long as you have this much consistently, you'll get it.
Boo.
So seven boosts. We're at level 2, 7 boosts to get to level 3.
Boo.
If you have any requests of stuff you want us to cover, feel free to let us know through email or through our Discord. If you want to respond to any of the opinions we shared, by all means, email me. I would love it. I love to debate things. Our anniversary is coming up in a month-ish. Yeah, a month-ish after by the time this episode goes live. We're going to be doing a kind of a mailbag episode for that, where we kind of just respond to listener questions and whatnot.
Yeah. We haven't gotten any emails yet, but we also have a channel open on our Discord for you to ask questions. It's much easier. But if you're
I think most people that want to interact with us do so on the Discord. Yeah. I think emails are a thing of the past.
Well, but the email is there for people who do not like Discord or do not want it, and that's totally fine because I'm there with you. I don't like Discord. I use it for talking while I'm playing video games, but when I get people who are like, you should join this group or this community, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I barely interact in our own, and I should be better about that. I don't really like Discord. But if you don't like Discord and you don't want to join the Discord, that's totally fine, and you can email us. Also, if you are already in the Discord and you want to ask a question that you think is embarrassing or, you don't want to be tied to the question, that's also what the email's for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so about a month, get in those questions you want to hear us answer and talk about, and we'll be doing that. A special thank you to our VIP patrons, Kazan and Comrade. We appreciate all of your support, everybody.
Yep.
Next episode, Dylan's not here to fight me, so I get to choose. We're going to do a book with no audio.
No.
Dun, dun, dun. There are several that we need to touch on because indie authors are the ones that are mostly going to be doing dragon-related stuff.
Yeah.
And they can't afford to have their stuff narrated. Makes sense. Also, the whole idea of taking the plunge on behalf of our listeners and letting them know, oh yeah, this was actually good, or oh no, this isn't worth your time, definitely applies a lot more to written words because, movies and games and even audiobooks are probably not that big of an investment.
Yeah.
At least time-wise. So the book I would like to do is called The Last Monster on Earth by L.J. Davies. The general synopsis appears to be something happened on Earth, some sort of magic or pulse or something, that turned everybody into monsters. The main character got turned into a dragon, doesn't remember anything, he just has a piece of paper with his name on it, and he's trying to figure out what is going on and who he is, I think. That's kind of what I gathered from the snippet on Goodreads.
All right, I guess I begrudgingly will read a book for you, Ray.
Yeah. You signed up for this.
I did.
So thank you for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys later.